Okay, so we're going to move through 1 Samuel chapter 20 and 21 tonight, and we're going to look at Psalm 34. And this is session 7, Life of David. We're going to talk about David when he flees from Saul, and he goes to two cities. He goes to Nob and he goes to Gath, and both of them are ill-advised. Both are bad decisions. What we're about to get is a couple chapters of David being in the flesh. That's really what's going to happen here. And so just again, we're coming off of this dramatic encounter with the Lord at Naioth and Ramah. The waves of assassins are stopped by the glory of God. Saul himself stopped by the presence of God. The spirit of prophecy is on everybody. And now David is going to leave out of there, and he's scrambling, which is so interesting. And I want you to reflect on your own life right now. How often have you gone from a spiritual high to a spiritual low? It's happened to me many, many times, especially after I preach on Sunday. Like so high and then so low. And it really is, this is a part of the way our walk of faith goes. 1 minute you feel like a spiritual giant, and the next minute you feel like a spiritual weakling. And we're going to see something in David in this session that we have not seen in him yet. But it's a clear part of his character that replays itself several different times in his life. But here's what's beautiful. God is the same toward David as when he is slaying Goliaths and when he's fleeing from Saul and he's in the flesh. All right, let's pick up the story. 1 Samuel 20, verse 1. Then David fled from Naioth and Ramah and went and said to Jonathan, "What have I done? What is my iniquity? What is my sin before your father that he seeks my life?" So again, he's coming off this monumental time with Samuel and the waves of assassins. Now there's been the encounter in the prophetic with Samuel, and now the waves of assassins. And you ever had the moment after the moment where you're processing what just happened? And if you linger on it too long and you let your carnal mind get in there, you get in the flesh. You know what I'm talking about. You might go through a thing, and in the moment you're like, okay, we're good. I've got the blueprints for the tabernacle of David. We're going to go out. And then just halfway down the road, you're like, he really did try to kill me multiple times. And now you're ruminating. Some of us, we think processing is ruminating on fearful thoughts. And we've got to change the way our internal life works. We have to change how we work on the inside. Ruminating and recycling fearful thoughts and negativity is not processing. It's not processing. And adding voice to those negative thoughts and fearful thoughts, and just, now I've said it out of my mouth, I got to process this with somebody. That's not processing. What you need to do is pour out your heart to the Lord and then anchor to the Word. How do I feel? What do I think? What's happening? Okay, Lord, here it is. Maybe you have a trusted comrade, you share it, but then you're anchored to the Word and you're in prayer and trusting your heart to God. Well, what we're going to find is David learns that the hard way, and then he's going to instruct all of us to do that. So he gets to Jonathan and he says, hey, your dad's trying to kill me. What have I done? And this is where they have the plan, and Jonathan is going to find out the truth of the way Saul is thinking about David. And they've got a signal they've worked out. He's going to shoot arrows into the field, and he's going to say a signal to David so that David knows whether or not it's good or it's bad with his father. And so there's a few things going on here. It's a new moon, so it's a feast. And so David, who is actually still a part, he's not been fully kicked. He's still officially a part, because this whole thing where David had to flee has kind of been done privately. The whole thing where the statue in the bed and David's running and he runs to Naoth and Ramah, this is all sort of privately done. So he's still officially a part of the cabinet. So the new moon, all the cabinet members and everybody that's part of the house would come back and they'd have a feast together. And so David, he approaches to meet Jonathan and he says, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going in there. Your dad's really trying to kill me. And now, so what I'd like you to do, Jonathan, is I'd like you to find out what it is. What is it, good or is it bad? Is your dad after me, or is he going to somehow welcome me back? And he's pretty much got the hint after all the waves of assassins trying to kill him that he's done, that this is not going to work. Jonathan thinks, well, my dad hasn't made it clear to me that he's trying to kill you. Now, so that's an interesting thing, because now the prince is sort of being left out of Saul's activities. He didn't let me know. If he was really trying to, he would have let me know. He goes, I'll find out. And so then they have this conversation, and this is them reaffirming their covenant. And you just got to think it through. They're in covenant with one another, and all this talk about murder, we've done this a few times now, and are we still good, bro? I mean, that's kind of the conversation. Are we still good? And they reaffirmed their covenant with one another. And it says, Jonathan loved David as his own soul. Man, that's holy and beautiful when you get into that kind of covenantal relationship. And you may only have a handful of those your whole life. Of course, marriages are one of them. But those kind of covenantal, real bonds, loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan, it says this, he says, I vow to you and the house of David. He's prophesying David's reign. He knows where this is going. I'm vowing to your whole line. And after your king, make sure that this covenant is strong. This is the conversation they're having. So David's a little sour that there's any reconciliation coming. Jonathan feels positive. And then Jonathan's going to assess with Saul what's going on. And so then here's what happens. Saul gets so provoked that Jonathan would in any way suggest that David should still be included. So Saul tries to now kill his own son. He throws a spear at Jonathan. And if there was ever a question, he tries to kill his own heir. Now just think that through. Saul is really, he's demonized. He's really lost it. And so because David's not there, and he's acting like he's in Bethlehem, but it's a whole thing where Jonathan's going to find out what's going on here. And as he's inquiring, Jonathan realizes this is it. His dad is fully given over to the spirit of murder. And so he has to go tell David. And then he says, my dad it's real. He really is trying to kill you. And that's basically all of 1 Samuel 20, is this interaction where they reaffirm covenant. Jonathan's interaction with Saul trying to pin Jonathan against the wall with a spear, and then David and getting the message from Jonathan that it's not good. So he's no longer going to ever be a part of the king's house, and he's going to flee. Now he's fled first to the prophet, so now he's going to go to the priests. So Nob is the city of the priests. There was some 85 priests that were there at Nob. It's also where the tabernacle of Moses had been moved to. It had been at Shiloh in previous days, and now it's been moved to Nob. And so David shows up at Nob. Now, I really want you to read the narrative here because it's just bizarre. I mean, David shows up and he starts lying out the gate. He shows up and he's talking to Ahimelech. Now, we're going to have Ahimelech here in Nob, and in a minute, we're going to have Abimelech in Gath. Different people. One letter difference, but different people. What are some names that have one letter apart? Let's think. Ryan and Brian. That's what we have here. So we've got Ahimelech. He is the high priest. And so David shows up. The son of the king shows up. And he's by himself. And Ahimelech starts going like, so where is the royal entourage? And David starts just lying. Well, I'm sent by the king on a secret mission. And I had a few young men with me, but they couldn't know what it was, so I left them in the village. And he's just making things up. None of this is real. He's lying because he's just trying to hide out. And so, the priest knows protocol. He knows that the son-in-law of the king doesn't travel without an entourage. He doesn't travel just alone. This idea that there's a secret mission, all of it is extremely unusual. And he's lying because he's trying to get aid, and he doesn't want to tip off the priests that he's in some way at odds with Saul. And so what's going on is this: David is beginning to get gripped with fear. I'm going to say, like, it's really hard for us to see our David, who we've grown to love over these last 6 sessions. We're starting to see him in his worst moment. One of his worst. He does some pretty bad moments. This is one of the bad ones. He starts getting gripped with fear. He's afraid. He's lying. And this lie it's going to be the ripple effects are going to be so profound, it's literally going to cost 85 lives of priests. Saul is going to end up putting 85 people to death because David perpetrated this lie. And you never know what the outcome of your sin will be. You head down a certain path, you start getting motivated by fear, and man, the decisions are bad, and then the sin becomes easy, and then the outcomes, you can't stop them from happening. You can't, once the rock is thrown in the pond, you can't stop the ripples from getting to the shore. You threw the rock, that's the sin, but the outcomes, the effects. Well, here's David, moved and motivated by fear. This is not who he really is. We know him. He's motivated by love. He's assured of God's love to him. And even in his weakness, he knows love. And he's very confident in the love of God, God's mercy towards weak people. But here he is, and he's motivated by fear. Friends, hear me right now. Fear is the worst motivator of the human heart. It's the worst motivator. Why do I say that? Because the love of God compels us. Okay? Our hearts are made to be moved by the love of God. It's controlled, it's compelled, and it's constrained by the love of God. That's what your heart is made for. In other words, the fuel that your heart runs on is love. Perfect love casts out fear, right? So fear and love are opposites. We always think hatred and love are opposites. Fear and love are opposites. Okay? So here's the thing. When you're being motivated by fear, you're operating in the exact opposite motivation that you are made for. And your decisions and actions will bear the fruit of that. But when you're being motivated by love, you're going to bear fruit that looks like righteousness. So hear me, like rooting out fear motivations, anxiety, worry, this ruminating on the negative, rooting that out and getting love as the motivator of our heart, it's such a critical key thing, because even a man like David, motivated by fear, creates a sin that kills 85 people. We got to get this. So he has some weird requests. Got any weapons? Well, I thought you were on a secret mission. Yeah, I forgot my sword. Obviously making it up. Got any food? Got any weapons? And so the sword of Goliath was there being held in Nob. It was like a trophy. And so here's what ends up happening. The way that this ends up getting back to Saul, we'll find out a little bit more about this character later, but Doeg the Edomite, such an odd thing. This guy is not, he's not an Israelite, but he's a part of Saul's cabinet, and he's over the herdsman. He's there. He happens to be there in Nob, and he sees David, and he realizes something bad is off. He's been obviously a part of Saul's cabinet. Maybe he knows about the assassination attempt at Naioth, and so he's going to be the one that ultimately reports to Saul, and we'll find out more about him next week. All right, so here we go. 1 Samuel 21, verse 11, middle of page 2. David flees now. He's going to go to Gath. Now, Gath is a leading city of the Philistines. It's where Achish, also known as Abimelech, the king of Gath, he's there. And David shows up. I don't understand this logically. This will be one of those things that I will ask David about when we get to the other side. You know, I'm sure he'll have office hours or whatever. Hey, man, can I just ask you about that whole thing when you went to Nob and then you went to Gath? What were you thinking? Because this makes no sense. He comes into Gath out the gate. The servants of Achish, verse 11, chapter 21. The servants of Achish said to Achish, "Isn't this David, the king of the land? Isn't he the one they sing about in their dances? Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s." They know the popular song that the women were singing, the one that got under Saul's skin, that it got all the way to the Philistines. It was, I like to say, it was a top 40 hit. It was streaming on all platforms. I mean, they knew it. And here comes David rolling in. Wait, what does he have again with him? Whose sword? He shows up with Goliath's sword. Are you trying to get killed? What are you doing? And undoubtedly, he's in his mind, he's thinking, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, I guess, and okay, maybe I can work something out with Achish, and I'll just try. And as soon as he walks in, they're like, that's the guy that killed our guy. He's been raiding Philistine cities. This is our sworn enemy. And man, that's a big sword he's got. Anybody recognize that? That's a big one. I think that's one of ours. I mean, like, this is a doomed to failure plan. It's been about 5 years since he killed Goliath. Everybody still knows the story. They're still singing the song. Our David is making some bad choices. The incident at Nob is going to be, it's ultimately horrific. And this one, it leads to something unthinkable. So I want you to note, they said, isn't this David the king of the land? The Philistines, this is how evident it is to everybody. The Philistines even know that David's going to be king. Isn't this King David? He's not king. And so he's making really poor decisions. I say and see there at the bottom of 2, he is not being led by the Lord. He's struggling. This is for every time you came off of a mountaintop with God and you ended up struggling. And you thought, what's wrong with me? And what's wrong with you is you're in flesh behind the veil. That's what's wrong with you. in half a minute, you're going to have a glorified body, and the veil is going to open up like a curtain, and time and eternity are going to crash in on one another, and you're going to see him face to face. You won't have a problem making bad decisions. But until then, you're stuck in a flesh with a mind that still has to continually be renewed, and you have to cause your will. You got to choose that your will would be aligned with God's will. You have to make thousands and thousands of decisions for righteousness. We want to make 10 good decisions for righteousness and like sort of just get coasting in God. That's not how it works. You have to stay engaged. You have to make the volitional choices for righteousness over and over and over. And what we're seeing is David is in this place where fear crept in, and that's what's happened to you in the past, and that's what's happening to him. And it doesn't mean you're the worst person ever. It just means you had a lapse. And I doubt you've ever had a lapse this bad. I mean, maybe you're in here, but I don't think so. This is a bad one. It's not just bad, it's weird. A weirdly bad lapse is worse than just a bad lapse. So he's completely in fear. He's struggling to remember God's love and favor for him. Flip on over. And I just say it there indeed again, like even someone with a heart like David can momentarily backslide into fear and lose sight of God's love. He loses revelation of God's love. He loses revelation of his own identity. He loses a revelation of God's calling for his life. And you just have to know this. Just know this. Intimacy with God, your identity in God, and your calling, what God's invited you to do with God, all those are going to be continually contested your whole life. Always intimacy is attacked. Always identity is attacked. And always your calling will be attacked. There's no like, you just crest the hill of intimacy and it's all ease from there on out. It's always contested. Now his yoke is easy. His burden is light. But while we are in this flesh, we have trials and tribulations, and we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, spiritual hosts of darkness, and wickedness in heavenly places. Like, this is on this side. This is what it is. So just know that. When you are in a plateau, be so grateful. And then when you're coming off of that peak, know that there's likely coming some obstacle. You know what? Brace yourself for it. I'm going to make really good decisions through this next little moment. Just don't get shocked when it goes up and down and up and down. It's always contested. All right, so look at this. Now, David took these words to heart. What words? That they pointed out that he's their enemy. And was very much afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. So he changed his behavior before him. Pretended madness in their hands, scratched on the doors of the gate, and let his saliva fall down on his beard. Then Achish said to his servants, "Look, you see, the man is insane. Why have you brought him to me? Have I need of a madman that you have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house?" He goes, "Get this. This is gross. Get this guy out of here. I don't even be associated with this." I need you to really like step into the story. Can you imagine our David thinking maybe he's going to get a treaty? It instantaneously flips. They say the song. They see the sword. He's the guy. It's in 3 seconds turning into, we should kill him. And he's, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I'll play crazy. I'll play crazy. But not just I'll play crazy. He gets down on all fours and starts scratching at the door to the gate where the king is seated, likely in the gates of the city. He scratches at the gate, so convinced, he's spewing spit and saliva over his beard, foaming he works up foam. Some of you guys, I got a weak stomach, I'm sorry, but he's letting it come off of his beard. Whatever he's doing, it's so convincing that the king of Gath, who's sat there and judged a ton of stuff, right? Disputes and all sorts of things between his own warriors and cabinet members, and looks at him and he's actually convinced. How creepy did David have to act? How awkward would that have felt in his own heart? He's not crazy. He's afraid. And he's acting crazy. Key principle, when you get afraid, you'll act crazy. Not exactly this way, but you will. He is acting as an insane man. How good do you have to, how scratched up does the door have to get? This does not show up in the Sunday school teachings on David. It's just the flannel graph of David at the gate, like scratching and foaming. Under E. And you need to ask yourself this question. Is David still a man after God's own heart? Why am I pausing there? Because your worst moment doesn't define you, just like his worst moment doesn't define him. He's still a man after God's own heart. He's still David, the sweet psalmist of Israel. He's still the giant slayer. God knows exactly who he is, and he's in the middle of a failure that is so profound, it's repulsive to even read it. He's still a man after God's own heart, and I want to say to you, you can be a godly man or woman, and there can be moments that the godliness is hidden under the darkness of your own fearful heart. We know he wanted to be wholly given to God, and we get to see God gives us David's story with such obvious clarity of brokenness. He gives it to us so that we can be encouraged that even as he had weakness, we have weakness. It doesn't change God's opinion of us. It's so, so important. Huge, huge mistake, completely in fear. It's embarrassing. And he's going to come through this with power. You're going to see this in half a second. He's going to come through it with power. But I want to say to you boldly, your weakest, worst moment isn't the moment that defines you. It's not the moment that defined David. It's not the moment that defines you. Don't let the devil tell you that. So we find out his gratitude ends up energizing him to worship, and I kind of talk about that in F, G, and H. All right, so here's where we go. Psalm 34. Psalm 34. There's the heading right there on the bottom of page 3. He wrote this when he pretended to be insane before Abimelech, who drove him away, and he left. Can you imagine you're David and you're writing a song and that was crazy. What did I just do? Let me write a song about when I acted crazy. This is wild. Psalm 34. It's the psalm that David writes on the heels of this moment. They scurry him off, get him out of here. The king rejects him. He gets out of there. And I think he's like, what was I thinking? I need to get with God. And in that next, I always imagine it's like that next quiet time. He's like, oh, Lord, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I think he gets the psalm like right on the heels of it. So I mentioned there on top of page 4, Abimelech is the royal name, and Achish is the family name. It's the same guy, Achish and Abimelech. And this is David facing fear. This is what it looks like when he comes out of the fear. And when you think about David, this is what he battles. This is the cycle. He battles fear of man and fear of calamities. And he ultimately always overcomes it by finding himself in God's grace and safe in God's, his love. And he's trusting and back to obedience. But he always finds himself back in that place. But it's always fear of man and fear of calamity. And there I just put, fear of man will always cause you to please man in disobedience to God. It's Saul's chief sin. And here's our David acting a little like Saul. All right, look at the verses. Verse 1. This is so funny. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. Y'all know that verse, right? Y'all have heard this one before. Have you thought a little bit about this context? My soul shall make its boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear of it and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me and let us exalt his name together. We love that worship song. We love all the adaptations of this song. But we don't recognize that this song is written right on the heels of a time when he wasn't acting anything like this. What's going on here? How can he write that when he was just doing what he was doing? Because he's now come to his senses. He's basically saying, I will never do that again. I'm never going to let fear. Now, he has these little waves, but he's trying to say it. I'll never let that happen again. I'm not going to let fear get in my head and get in my mouth. I'm never going to find myself in such a place where I've just bowed down to fear and have been just completely lost. And he says, I never want to go back to being that distant from God again. So at all times, I'm going to bless him. I'm going to change this around so dramatically that his praise will always be on my mouth. You'll never see me acting that way again. You'll never see fear grab me like that again. I am going to bless the Lord at all times. His praise will be in my mouth. And my soul will boast in the Lord. Another way to say it is, my soul is going to trust in God's ability to deliver me. He's making a major shift. My soul is going to latch on. I'm going to have revelation of who God is and what he does. He delivered me from the lion, the bear, and the giant. My soul is going to boast in what he's done, and I will believe in what he will do. He's turning it around right here. He goes, oh, and David always does this when he writes a song. It's the teacher in him. He goes, come on. Magnify the Lord with me. Come on, let's experience the life of wonder and who God is. It's so much better than where we've been before in these bad places. Let's exalt his name. Let's get lost in the revelation of who he is. The name of God and the nature of God are one reality. Let's get lost in the beauty and the wonder. Come on, exalt his name with me. He is making a 180-degree turn, and he's doing it with energy. Verse 4, I sought the Lord and he heard me. Well, you were wondering, how did he get from scratching at the door at Achish's to saying this? I sought the Lord and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. He's so clear. They who looked to him were radiant and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried out, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all of his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps around all those who fear him and delivers them. How many has ever heard that verse? The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear the Lord. What's he doing here? He's pumping himself up. He's like, what did I just do? I've got angels. So, how did David get out of this? He says, I sought the Lord. Look, you're in fear. You're ruminating on the fear in the name of processing. You're talking about it and you're ruminating. There's a difference. You say it, maybe you get to the bottom of how it happened or what was going on. You say it, and then what do? You seek the Lord. This is what David does. Instead of sitting there in this place where he's spiraling down into having to look like a madman, he goes, no. I sought the Lord and he heard me. I know this is like elementary. I know it is. But do we do this? What we've done is we've normalized too much 21st century American Christianity when we have the prescription sitting right here that really will see you through. Seek the Lord. Seek the Lord. He will hear you. He will answer you. He will deliver you from your fear. He will. It's who he is. He goes, I sought the Lord. He heard me and delivered me from all my fears. There's this, so I say there and see that there's a divine operation and there's a human cooperation. And we've got to engage. There's a passivity that is settled on the body of Christ. We sit back, we have our hands out, and we just wait. And I believe in waiting on the Lord. But there is not just a sitting back and receiving. There is a knocking and seeking. He says, I sought the Lord. I sought him. I was looking. I went in. I went after him. And the Lord heard me. He heard my cry. Guys, there's got to be this place of human cooperation and then divine operation. And both of them work together to bring us deliverance. Too many of us are sitting back waiting for the lightning bolt to strike us. And there is a part that we play. Now, here's how it works. We can't do God's part. He won't do our part. God it's wild. He let David do the crazy thing. He let him do it. Just think this through. Like God could have he just stopped 3 waves of assassins last week. Don't you think God could have scooped David up and been like, hey boy, don't do that. Don't do that. We're not doing this. No, he goes, you know what? Here's what fear does. Go ahead. Get your fill of fear and see the outcomes. We've got this problem at Nob. You're about to find out in a chapter. It's going to be really bad. And now look at you before the king of Gath. You are made to be a deliverer of Israel from the Philistines. Instead, you're down being like a beggar and a crazy man before them. Let fear happen. Let's see it. Now what are you going to do? You're crying out to me. Yes, I can work with this. He won't do our part. We can't do his. We can't make the grace happen, empower ourselves. We can't. But what we can do is take our weak heart and put it before him and pursue him and say, God, here I am. I got nothing. Help me, God. Move in my life, God. There's just got to be this part of our heart where we just say, I'm not going to just settle for this passive Christianity. And like, if God wants me to do it, he'll make me do it. No, God is waiting on us sometimes to seek him, so that he can give us the grace to step into what he's called us to do. I just mentioned how Adam and the Lord and Adam worked together in the garden. He gave him a whole garden and said, now your job is to tend it. My job is to create it. It says, they that look to him, their faces are radiant, not put to shame. Why is he saying this? Why is he saying this? They that look to him, their faces are radiant. They're not put to shame. Why would he want to say this? How shameful do you think it was for him? He comes to his senses. He gets out of Gath. And he's starting to think about it again. Like, what did I just do? What did I do? That's embarrassing. And they know it was me. They know the song and everything. He goes, and you can just hear the Lord, look up, boy. Look up. They that look to him, their faces are radiant. They're never put to shame. He goes, I know what I'm talking about. He's taken me out of the shame of my failure. And he's calling us to do the same. He says, stare at me through the failure, and God will deliver you from the shame. And the very glory of his countenance will reside on yours. And he says, this poor man cried out, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. Who's the poor man? David. Now we're starting to see him again. Here's humble David. Here's humble David. He's like, I'm the poor man. I am that little shepherd boy. I am the guy that has nothing. This poor man cried out. That word cry is a Hebrew word, kara. I don't know how to say it. Qara. It literally means cry out as if to get one's attention. Because I cried out to the Lord. It shows up 100 times in the Psalms. 100 times, cry out. Somebody's like, well, I'm not very loud. You cry out your way, I'll cry out my way. My way has a lot of horsepower behind it. You might have a little less. But you cry out, and the Lord hears you. He'll deliver you. I love this. He delivered him from all his troubles. And then that promise of the angel of the Lord encamping around those who fear the Lord. Do you see he's redirected it now. I'm not afraid of man. I've got the reverence for God. I've got fear of God. He's reoriented his heart. There's a quote there, that the Charles Spurgeon quote that I think is so, it's just precious. He says about the redeemed, on every side the watch is kept by warriors of sleepless eyes. Talking about angels. Flip on over. Page 6. Verse 8. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who trusts in him. Oh, fear the Lord, you saints. There is no want or lack to those who fear him. The young lions lack and suffer hunger, but those who seek the Lord shall not lack any good thing. And David is calling us into experiential knowledge of God. He's calling us in, taste and see. And this is the admonition to the saints in every generation. Don't just sit on the outside of the pool and look at the water and say, it looks fresh, it looks refreshing, it looks cool, it looks wonderful. He says, no, jump in to the Lord. Taste and see. Receive of the goodness of him. See how good he is. Experience the blessing of God. Let the rain of his presence touch you and fill you. And he says, now fear the Lord. I don't know. For me, it's just every line is so powerfully unique and interesting when I juxtapose it over where he just was. Fear the Lord. I know this one. I almost feel like he's going, I know this one, guys. Seriously. Fear God. Angels camp around those who fear him. Trust the Lord. Fear the Lord. Come on, he'll bless you. You won't lack anything. There's no lack to those that fear him. I love that. Verse 11. Come, you children, listen to me. I'll teach you the fear of the Lord. Who is the man who desires life and loves many days, that he may see good? And he gives the prescription. Keep your tongue from evil, your lips from speaking deceit, speaking lies, and depart from evil actions. Do good, seek peace, and pursue it. I'm just going to give this to you right here. Verse 13, he's answering his own question. You want to live long? You want to see life? You want to experience the goodness of God in your life over the long haul? That's the RX. That's the prescription. He goes, if you want to experience the goodness of God in your life over the long haul, he goes, here's my master class on it. Number one, keep your tongue from speaking evil. Now we found out he does this. Remember, he's been going in and out before the people, carrying himself wisely. He's not speaking evil of Saul. He's not turning around at every turn and saying, the only reason I was there with Achish is Saul. Like, he's not doing any of that. He was, keep your tongue from speaking evil, specifically about slander. That's what this is. Keep your tongue from evil. 2, keep your lips from lies. Don't lie. Don't speak lies. He goes, I know. I've done this. It ruins you. And then he goes, depart from evil actions. So not slandering, not speaking deceptively, and not doing evil actions. And then he goes, but do good, particularly seeking peace. Peace who? Peace how? Peace with people. Peace with people. He's giving you the RX. He's giving you the prescription. There on page 6, come you children, listen to me. There it is. That's David always. I'll teach you the fear of the Lord. He goes, I'm going to get right into teaching mode with you. It's what I do. I know it. I've been there. You've got to know this. And he's going to instruct us. And I want to just point this out, that when you're reading Proverbs, it's so fascinating because Solomon will say stuff like, when I was a child, my father taught me, and he'll say a few things. You're reading Proverbs, and it's really in the first, I'd say, 10 to 12 chapters, you get a lot of that kind of emphasis. You're reading David, which is so cool. You know, it's Solomon teaching us what his dad taught him. So, and that's what's so interesting, that when you read the Psalms, you're like, oh, that's why the Psalms and Proverbs seem to, like, they almost echo each other a lot, because here's David always teaching us in song, but it's stuff he taught his own son. Does that make sense what I'm saying? All right. Depart evil, do good, refuse speaking evil, refuse acting evil, seek peace, pursue it. All right, verse 15. We're coming to a close here. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry. The face of the Lord is against those who do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. The righteous, there it is again, cry out, and the Lord hears and delivers them out of all their troubles. The Lord is near to those who have a broken heart and save such as have a contrite spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. He guards all his bones, and none of them is broken. Wow. Listen, how many times have you been in prayer and you've thought, Lord, I don't know if you hear me. I don't know if you see me. Undoubtedly, David, while he's fleeing to Nob and fleeing to Gath, he's feeling like, God, you're not hearing me. You're not seeing me. And now he's reminding himself and us, no. The Lord's eye is on the righteous. His ear is attentive to their prayers. This is reiterated in the New Testament. This is a promise for us that every time you speak, every time you utter prayer to God, the eye of the Lord is on you. You got it. You got to believe that. His eye is on you. He's not distracted. He's not ignoring you. Doesn't matter what you feel. His eye is on you. He's listening to you. Every cry, every groan, every painful prayer, every bold prayer. It's not just your prayers that feel anointed. He's on your help God prayers. That's probably the prayer I pray the most. Help God. Just that. Help. I need help. There's a 1,000 things I don't do well. Help. Help. His ear is attentive to your prayer. His eye is on you. David found this to be so true in his own experiences. But at the same time, the Lord's face is against the evil. Those who do evil. Guys, what an encouragement of our own heart to not be joined to wickedness. It causes the Lord's face to be repelled. The righteous cry out. There it is. There's the intercessory cry of the righteous and how it moves God. Cries out and the Lord hears. Sometimes, and I know my intensity can be, sometimes for some people it's off-putting. I'm a fairly intense guy. I get loud. But for some people they like that. But that for me, when I see these cry out verses, I go, yes, I have a biblical license to let that thing loose. And I'm just telling you, sometimes nothing else, it does, like your soul is not relieved until you cry out. And that's why the Bible gives us this license. It's relieving your soul's cry, the agony, the pain, the angst, all the challenges that are in here that are pent up. Cry out to the Lord. And watch that thing as your soul begins to breathe in that way. The Lord goes, yes, I see the desperate. My eye is on you, and I see that desperate heart that you're reaching out to me with. And then David, I'm on page 8. The Lord is near to those who have a broken heart, and he saves such as have a contrite spirit. And in the scripture, we find this about David. He's the first one. Just get your mind around it. He's the first one that gives us this theology that God really is intimate with the weak. He really is near to the broken. You know, and I have experienced this in my own life. I've experienced it through other people's lives. We've talked about it earlier in this class, but there are so many times I have, you know, as a pastor, been in counsel with someone, or just as a friend, just talking to someone, and they've gone through something incredibly hard, and they'll say, but the Lord was so near. And I just want you to really get it impressed upon your own heart. God is near to the broken. Contrite literally means crushed into powder. The more broken, the more crushed, the Lord is right there, attentive and near to the broken. And David's the first one that gives us this. B, I say, if we feel confident by doing well and condemned by doing poorly, it's because our identity is not true before God. It's actually rooted in pride. In other words, we perform well and we think God likes us more. We perform poorly and we think he doesn't. And that identity is not rooted in the knowledge of God. Because God says, I am near to the broken. I'm near to the weak. I'm near to the ones that are crushed. He's saying it this way. I'm near to the one that came to the end of himself and found failure and was in the mud. I'm near to that one. Catch it. We're still talking about David right off of scratching the door in front of a pagan king. Our David, the one who is an emblem of Jesus. God's near to the broken. And if we define ourselves by our ability or what we've done well, and we think God likes us more, we're completely operating in the antithesis of, our understanding is the antithesis of who God really is. When we offer something to God, believing that we can motivate him to look at us because of something we do, it is false. He's not moved by your performance. It doesn't make him like you more. He liked David just as much when he was scratching at the door as when he was cutting off Goliath's head. It's key, guys. You got to let that settle on your soul and just get out of this performative religion and realize that God, he is so interested in you. He's so near to you, so tender towards you. He's motivated to look at us because he's good. And he's longing for us, and he desires us, and he runs towards sinful people with a broken heart who have a yes in their heart. He runs to prodigals who got up out of the mud. When they're a long way off, it says the Father ran. And that's where we got to get, is confident in God's kindness towards humans who are weak. Bottom of page 8. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. This is our path in this age. When the veil is torn between time and eternity, when this flesh is filled with glory, then we get to not have trials anymore. But I want to tell you something. Don't waste a good trial. Don't waste it on slander and blame and self-pity and getting, in this place of like, well, God must not be for me. Now, if you're going through it, no, Jesus went through it. No, David went through it. And you're going through it. And God is near to those that are going through it. Don't waste a good trial. God wants to draw near to you in it. What we tend to do is we point at God, we blame others, and we don't realize this hardship it's an invitation to intimacy. Because he loves drawing near to the broken. He's not allowing you to be broken because he's trying to just crush you and just beat you down. He's allowing you to go through the brokenness because he's transforming you to the image of his son. He's conforming you to the image of his son. You're becoming more humble through the brokenness. But he wants to draw near to you through the brokenness. Now, David, what is he going to do? What does David do after he's done singing, teaching, engaging the Lord? He slips in the spirit of prophecy. Like every time. I mean, it's all prophecy because it's all scripture. But then he says this, he guards all his bones. None of them is broken. What is that talking about? That's about Jesus. John writes it in John 19, verse 36. This is why David said that. So interesting, because here's David worshiping God, teaching us about the knowledge of God, explaining, pouring out his own heart, slipping into messianic prophecy of the crucifixion. It was just fantastic how the Lord used him and his gifts. Flip on over, last thought. Verse 21, evil shall slay the wicked, and those who hate the righteous shall be condemned. The Lord redeems the soul of his servants, and none of those that trust in him shall be condemned. And he gives us this point about recompense for sin and judgment and the surety of the deliverance of the righteous. I just really want to impress on you the incredible failure that we just read about in David's life, and then what he rebounded to. This full trust in God, this full rejection of fear, and this complete belief of God's nearness to him in his broken state, and that shame was completely lifted off of him and replaced with glory. That's our portion too. That's our portion too. Amen. Let's pray.